I gotta say, I've seen a lot of Bolt Carbine slander since the launch of Space Marine 2, but truth be told, this weapon has a whole lot to offer for someone who's like truly ready to embrace that cloak and dagger, ambushing, guerrilla-style fighter playstyle. Having taken down the Hive Tyrant solo on Ruthless with this build, I'm now a firm believer in what the Bolt Carbine has to offer. So in this video, I'm going to break down my full build for you so you can see how everything works together to make you an ultimate slip-in, slip-out, brawling assassin that the Bolt Carbine wants you to be. So let's get cranking. But first, let me just get this out of the way. Like, I'm not going to make some bold claim here that using the Bolt Carbine is the absolute most powerful, optimal way to play the sniper class. I'm not going to tell you that when the chips are down, it's a better choice than the Fusel is. But what I will tell you is this. For me, at the end of the day, the best way to play any video game is the way that's most fun for you to play personally. And this Bolt Carbine SMG build has two main things going for it. First, it's extremely fun and dynamic. This playstyle is going to get you up and close and personal, brawling with some of the most dangerous enemies in the game. You won't be hiding behind a scope, you won't be hiding behind your teammates, taking pot shots from the sidelines to get majors executable for your teammates, and then going camo whenever anything gets too close to you. The second thing it has going for it, besides being super fun, is that it's actually quite effective, right? It might not be the most meta build you've ever used, but it's also not going to be a detriment to your team. So it's both really good and really fun. But let's talk about the specifics. So this build is really all about stacking a wide range of buffs to do huge burst damage in a short amount of time, and then reactivate those buffs again to do it basically on repeat. Let's start with the sniper class perks. So this setup is pretty wildly different from the sniper rifle builds. So first, we want extra damage against majors because we're often going to be breaking camo with a heavy dagger attack.
They shall not see me.
We want increased ammo reserves, dexterous hands to cut down on our reload time since we're going to be up in the action and we don't want downtime. Then we're going to stick with squad renewal and renewal so that we can just pop a couple of gaunts here and there to have camo on command basically all the time. But here's where things are going to start to really deviate. We're going to be running tactical ambush to let our dagger do the talking first when we exit camo. The snipers out there are already calling out blasphemy and heresy for that choice alone, I'm sure. Next is ambush. When Camo Cloak deactivates, it startles nearby enemies. They'll temporarily lose control or get knocked back. You'll see this kick in several times in the gameplay here, where we're basically popping out of camo to surprise attack enemies, and it will disrupt whatever it is that they're doing and give us a moment to do big damage with zero risk. And then finally, we're using evasion so that we go invisible anytime we have a perfect dodge. This is going to tie directly into our weapon perk tree as well, so let's hit that next. But you can see how our sniper class perks are all about camo uptime and big damage coming out of camo, and that's important. Next up is the carbine itself. I'm using the Aphelion Liberation version of the gun. I know some folks are like, whoa, 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 that's the one that shoots like really super fast and kicks like a mule, right? Shouldn't you be using the more accurate versions that have bigger firepower ratings for more damage and more control? And the answer to that question is absolutely not. It's like if I offered you either $1 million today, right now, or I could give you $1 today and promise to double it every day for a month. Most people wouldn't even think about it. They just take the more up front. But what you miss out on if you take that deal, if you take the $1 million now, is you miss out on $1 billion down the line. You never have to work again. The same idea sort of applies here, okay? People are ignoring the snowballing damage effect of the much higher rate of fire of the Aphelion Liberation version, and it has a much larger mag size, so you can really take full advantage of those damage windows, but also you're shooting a heck of a lot more bullets with that 8 rate of fire. And don't worry about that recoil. We're basically barrel stuffing enemies anyway. You shouldn't be missing at point blank, but we're also going to dial that recoil in a little bit on the perk tree. And by a little bit, I mean like 50% less recoil. It's actually quite a lot. So for perks, we're running Great Might, so we can do extra damage to bosses like the Carnifex, Neurothrope, Hellbrute, Hive Tyrant. But here's a major part of the build. Next up is the perk Retaliation. After a perfectly timed dodge, you deal 25% more damage for 5 seconds. Okay, again, this is all about big burst damage, short little damage window. We want to capitalize on that. We want to dump as much damage as possible in that short amount of time. So you may recall, when we queue up a perfect dodge, we're actually going to go invisible. And when we go invisible, we get a dagger buff. And now we also get a 25% damage buff to our gun. So we can basically bait out an attack, dodge, go invis, heavy strike with the dagger, which stuns the enemy because we just came out of camo right next to them, and we did double damage on our stab. And now we can mag dump the SMG into their faces with another big damage buff in a shower of bullets. I mean, it's pretty freaking cool, okay? Continuing down the tree, we've got adamantine grip for a 25% reduction to recoil, which is massively helpful. Mag size and ammo reserve boosts. We've got honed precision for more hipfire accuracy, which is nice because when we're point blank with like terminus enemies, we often don't want to ADS, so we can see all of the tells for their various attacks. We've got Headhunter for extra headshot damage, another stack of adamantine grip for now, a total of 50% less recoil on this thing, and finally, Divine Might for a flat 10% damage increase. And there it is, that's basically the whole setup, but let's chat a bit about putting it into action. This really shines in the Hive Tyrant fight, honestly. Like, you can see the perfect dodges, queuing up the 25% damage buff in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, and then we dump into the face of the boss. It makes this fight extremely fun and engaging, rather than what I think is a little more passive approach with the standard sniper builds, where you just run to the other side of the map camo and start sniping them in the face. With this build, it's much more dynamic, much more exciting. Even if both your teammates go down, and even if the one that died 3 times in the boss room thinks he's the most reliable source of information and tries to sideline coach you, he tries to backseat you since he's got a lot of time to type while waiting on his respawn timer, hey, you can still just dial in and get it done. I joke a little bit. I really don't care if you go down 20 times in the boss room. I just think it's funny when the people that do go down all the time have the most to say and the most advice to give. That is what's funny. Anyways, neither here nor there. So wait and be patient and dodge at the last moment to queue up all your buffs and choose which one in the moment you should leverage. That's another part of it. You need to be adaptable. So you're playing a literal cloak and dagger build after all. You cloak and then you stab with a dagger, but using this build well is often about positioning and target prioritization as well. If there are majors with ranged weapons chewing you and your team up, but they're on the other side of a large mob of enemies, you may be better off using your invisibility to get through the mob and take down the big guys with the snipers and the venom rifles. You're the assassin on the field after all. And then you can turn around and pick off a few Minoris enemies and charge that camo right back up to 100% in no time, do it all over again. Or maybe you want to bait out an attack, dodge it, and then go straight into ADS headshot, bacon a major. But another time, it might be better off to get behind them after you go invisible and reposition where your camo deactivation effect is going to have the most mileage. It's all about reading the field and deciding which buff would be the most useful in your specific context. And that just comes with time and practice. All in all, I find the Bolt Carbine to be an effective ad-clearing weapon, but more than that, it's exceptional at doing huge burst damage on big targets when you build around it and allow yourself to stack buffs. The playstyle itself is dynamic and exciting, and this has earned itself a spot in my preferred loadouts because of it. I hope you take the time to level it up and fully invest in what makes it special so that you too can become the cloak and dagger guerrilla assassin that the Emperor needs you to be. Thanks so much for tuning into the video today, and a big shout out to the now almost 5,000 new subscribers to the channel since we started covering Space Marine 2. If you're looking for a great community to game with, we have a private Discord with an LFG, general chat, and voice chat rooms for fire teams as well. We've got now well over 100, about 120 members in there at this point. And if that sounds good, hey, just click the link in the pinned comment or the description and check out that super cheap $3 tier on our Patreon page. Subscribing there will link up your Discord account, assuming you connected the two in your Patreon account settings. If you have any trouble with that, just reach out to me directly there on Patreon, and we'll get you sorted out manually. And with that, be warm and well fed, my friends. Courage and honor.